Friends, this is SatiSeva. Welcome to you all. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy many of you have joined us today. We've got a really beautiful community of people. I'd like to share with you an intention to set our practice today. It's very traditional in the Buddhist practice to begin a reflection, to begin a meditation with an intention, and then to end the practice with a dedication. So that's what we're going to do today. This is a wee little painting that I made. And this one on the back, the sentiment of loving kindness is, may you reflect the splendor of life. May you reflect the splendor of life. Unspoken in the sentiment of metta is this message. Life considers you splendid. Now, the question is, can you receive that? And last night in our recovery Dharma practice, I offered a visual, an embodiment that you can do when a compliment is coming your way, when any praise is coming your way, and the temptation is to be like, yee, keep it at arm's length, make a little cross with the fingers, no, no, I don't want, no. And instead, remember that praise and compliments are gifts. You don't have to believe it. You don't even have to resonate with it, but you do have to accept it as a gift. Otherwise, just think of it. When you give someone a gift, imagine if they were like, nah, no thanks. Because that's what happens when you reject someone's praise or a compliment. So the embodiment is this. You put your hands in like a cup position at the base of the heart. And you just allow that to hang out for a minute. You can even close your eyes and just let your hand hang out. And if it up here at the heart feels too weird, just somewhere around your body, make a little container for this praise that's difficult for you to receive. Psst. Life considers you splendid, just as you are. Just as you are. And then you take that in your cupped hand and you pour it into your heart and just let it sit there. That's the enactment. Receiving it. Thank you. Okay, I don't quite know how to respond to that, but I'm going to take it into my heart. Thank you. May you reflect the splendor of life. So in all that you see that is splendid, you are included in that. What a loving idea. What a kind idea. Today, we are going to talk about inquiry. And the purpose of SatiSeva inquiry, the practice of inquiry, is not a practice of sleuthing and detective work and making sure we don't leave a single stone unturned to find all of our flaws and defects, and we can label them and identify them and list them. No, my friends, that is not the motivation of the practice of inquiry. Instead, the practice of inquiry in SatiSeva is all about cultivating curiosity. It is all about asking a question in a spacious kind of way. It relates to the instrument of peace. That's true and not the whole truth. What else is true? There's a question there. Something can be true. I can have these flaws and these defects and whatever you want to call it, all these judgments that I have for myself, all of that can be true. And it's still not the whole truth. So, what else is there? That's the purpose of this particular practice of inquiry. What else is going on? There's more to the story. We are all, each of us, so much more than just our most pernicious and damaging habit energy. But we have forgotten. And so the practice of inquiry, asking questions, is a way of helping us remember. I love that. So today, I'd like to pull from the SatiSeva book, and it's in the chapter of loving kindness. One of the things I mention in the mindfulness chapter of love is I go through the 4 limitless qualities. In traditional Buddhist language, they're called the Brahma Viharas. But these are the 4 immeasurables, the limitless qualities. These are qualities we can all cultivate, and we could spend the rest of our lives cultivating these qualities, and there would still be more to cultivate. They're limitless, infinite. And if you're not familiar with them, the 4 immeasurables, the 4 limitless qualities are loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. And this practice of inquiry comes from the loving kindness section. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4 questions. And if you have the book and you want to follow along, I am on page 416. And by the way, part of what I'm going to bring into my own personal practice is just a little awareness. Having just read page 416, I have a little voice, inner critic voice, that just popped up into my consciousness and said to me loud and clear what it always says to me, which is, God, Julia, you talk too much. You even write too much. And in our practice of inquiry is, can I be curious about what's going on within? So for me, in that working with that voice, I can ask myself, Julia, what is that all about? What is that voice? And there's a couple of things. One is my first grade and my 5th grade report cards that said, quote, Julie, as I was known then, Julie talks too much. Just flat out. There it is in black and white. Can't get away from it. Mrs. Lucy was my 1st grade teacher, and Miss LaCicero was my 5th grade teacher, and both thought I talked too much. And my parents both had the same response to me, which was, which I love them for. They just didn't take it too seriously. Could be worse. So there's that. I actually had some proof when I was younger that I couldn't keep quiet when I was told. And then the other part of this is, I think, a longer legacy that isn't even mine. And I think that longer legacy is why this voice is so vehement. When this voice rises up, it has kind of a silly, childish attitude about it, but it also has some heat to it, some bite to it. And that's the part that I've never been really clear on, which makes me think it's not actually mine. It's not actually my experience. It's something bigger than me. It's perhaps a chorus of women who, like me, have been scolded for speaking up, speaking out, living loud. So the question is, can I be curious about what's going on within? I'll also add, you can simplify this question. Can I be curious? There are a lot of people who are governed by a notion, a falsity, really, that curiosity is bad. To be curious is to be nosy. To ask questions is to doubt. To doubt is really bad. And yet we all recognize that curiosity is the foundation of any and every innovation and improvement and even disprovement. We are by nature curious beings. So, can I be curious is also full permission to be curious, to notice what's going on within. So let's take a minute or two and notice, how are you today? How's your body? How's your mood? How's your thought pattern and storytelling today for yourself? Enjoy this reflection of curiosity and wonderment. Friends, as an addition to this reflection, I'd like to very gently bring your awareness to your face. And I'd like you to play with your eyebrows a little bit. And this is just a way of breaking up our habits that we wear on our face. Even when we're inquiring and we're asking questions, there's a habit energy of getting kind of serious about it. So the brow is furrowed, we're concentrating, we're working really hard, we're trying to do this curiosity business good and well and get some answers. And all of that is actually beautiful. It's a a way to recognize that we're hardworking, we're committed and devoted. Those are beautiful qualities to have. But notice how my voice is changing tone and it's getting a little bit lighter. And the invitation here is to soften the brow. And maybe as my voice tends to go up and pitch even more, invites my eyebrows to rise. And in the silliness of all of that, maybe even a smile will sneak out. And there you have the face of inquisitiveness. And maybe even a little, spicy sprinkle of mischief. Like it's okay. Maybe you have a voice in your head that's a little bit nervous, like, ooh, we don't want to be too curious here. Ooh. And you can be, and you can be a little mischievous. You can break that rule a little bit. You can lean into it, bend it. And if you're like me, it's kind of fun to be a little bit rebellious, even if you get a couple of report cards that have a stain that live with you all your life. Laugh about it. That's what it's all about. We're okay. And then we can bring a little bit of this levity, this lightness to somebody else. And so now I want you to bring forward in your imagination someone. And I want to give you a little heads up here because the question is, can I be curious about what's going on with someone else? And the warning is this. It's very human and it's a developed habit energy that we have a tendency to be the most judgmental toward strangers who grab our attention for some reason and people we care deeply about. And I know that's interesting because the people that we care most deeply about, one would think that we wouldn't be so judgmental toward them, but we are. We tend to be pretty harsh. We tend to project. And that's because there's a level of comfort there and familiarity. Even when we judge them in the privacy of our own minds, we still love them and they still love us. So there's not a lot of risk there. Likewise, when somebody catches your attention and you don't know them at all, there's no risk there. So we can have a heyday with all of our judgments, with all of our storytelling. We feel like we know them, even though we have no idea who they are. And then we encounter people who barely register on our radar. And they're just kind of the neutral people that we encounter on a regular basis. So the people that we want to get curious about, really curious about, I would say, are all three types. The people on the two extremes, the people we love. Yet when they do something that we don't like, we're quick and we're sharp and we have judgments there. Can we be curious about that? Then the same thing goes with the stranger. We don't know a thing about them. And yet we know we've just written their whole life story. Somebody in the grocery store, somebody in a coffee line. And then that neutral person, somebody we don't know, or maybe we're just acquainted with. And just notice how we might feel a little bit more open to be curious about them. I know from my own experience, when it comes to more neutral people, my curiosity feels more spacious. I'm less inclined to fill in the gaps and tell stories about them. And I'm more inclined to wait for them to tell me their story. I don't know why that is. With my loved one, I'm quick to tell them what to do. With the stranger, I already know all about them. all of it's false. Can I be curious and get out of the way? Can I empty my own mind of story and open to the spaciousness that curiosity brings and just wonder? Look at my loved one who's doing something I don't like or I disagree with. Huh, would you look at that? I wonder what's up for them. I wonder if I'm not seeing something clearly. I wonder what I'm not seeing clearly. Look at the stranger over here. Huh, they're doing something really crazy that makes me super uncomfortable. Can I be curious about my judgments? Can I be curious about them? Rather than tell a definitive story, can I just open to it could be a million things going on? So let's take a moment. Keep those eyebrows up. Keep that posture of curiosity going and see if you can bring forward, people in your life, somebody you love, someone you're close to, stranger and a neutral person. And just notice the way curiosity about them comes alive in you. Friends, do you remember when I said that some of that biting, hot energy of that inner critic voice that likes to tell me I'm just too much, to talk too much, all the too muchnesses? And I mentioned that it's a legacy thing that isn't entirely clear to me. So the question is, just like me, can my loved one, can this stranger, can this neutral person be carrying a legacy that they don't actually fully understand either? Can I open that as a possibility that something isn't clear for them, just like it's not always clear for me? And that brings the third question. Is it important to know exactly what's going on? The exact language is it important to know exactly what's happening? And don't be too quick to say, nah, it's not, because it might actually be. So again, be curious about if you're quick to judge that. Like, no, I guess it's not that important. I can sit in the discomfort. Because maybe your experience in that moment is, yeah, I want to know exactly what's happening right now. I don't know why, I just do. And can you get a little space around that? Give yourself a little permission to have that feeling, to have that sense of urgency. Can you acknowledge that? Yeah, I want to know. I'm curious. Likewise, it could be a situation where it might feel urgent, and then you can ask yourself, okay, I see this urgency. I acknowledge it. Let me ask the question again. Is it that important that I know what's happening right now? Can we pause? Can we breathe? Can we add a little space? Because the reality is, I don't know. So, what do I do with that? And then we go back to the first question. Can I be curious about what's happening with me? Why the sense of urgency? What's up with me needing to know everything all the time? And this sort of leads into the final question, which is, am I comfortable with not knowing and simply bearing witness to discomfort? Am I comfortable with not knowing? And the honest answer is probably some combination of yes and no. And can I simply bear witness to this discomfort? Or can I bear witness to the fact that I'm okay? Friends, we can put this into an example and use unskillful speech as the example. Let's say we encounter a loved one who says something that hurts our feelings. Can I be curious about what's happening within me? What's this hurt all about? My loved one was a spoon that just jumped into my emotional cauldron, stirred up all of my hurt and feeling. And rather than blame my loved one, I'm going to take a minute and look at the contents of my stew, my emotional stew, and let them know, wow, that hurt. That was unskillful. Can I be curious about what motivated my loved one to say that? Can I be curious about the fact that they may not know and I may not get a clear answer? And in that space of not knowing, can I simply be with it? Notice, bear witness, put down the judgments, all the shoulds, and simply say, wow, that hurt. My loved one said something unskillful for reasons unknown. This is an uncomfortable situation. That's it. That's all that's there. I don't have to add any embellishment. Can I be with that? Take a deep breath and know without a doubt you already are being with that. keep breathing. The clarity will come. The answers will come. Life has an uncanny way of unfolding and unfurling in its own time. In some ways, it has the most nurturing and splendid capacity to reveal. Somehow, life often knows better than we ever could when to reveal what we most need to understand. And the reason why it happens in this way, it seems to me, is because we are navigating and walking through this infinite container, this infinite surrounding that's known as love. We are well loved. We are intimately connected, and we are profoundly held. So the invitation is to receive that, and to receive it in a way that we can trust it, and we can trust the way we can mirror that in our own lives and actions. We don't have to know the answers to all of our questions immediately. We can take our time. We don't have to transform what we judge to be the worst of our character into qualities of perfection overnight. It takes time. And to really sustain that practice, we can't show up to it with weapons. We have to show up with tools of healing, instruments of peace. And I'll end this reflection with what I think is a profound truth. And that is, you are already, and I am already, an instrument of peace. I have everything I need, and you have everything you need. This is what it is to be here in this form. We are creators of this creation. And we simply need to step into it. Slowly and gently peeling away all of the obscurities. Loosening the tightening grip of life's conditioning, society's conditioning, really, because life is splendid and it awaits your companionship. This is what it means to practice love in a way of giving and receiving. Stay curious in your practice. Stay open to life helping you unfurl, and celebrate the splendor that has always been you. A brief moment of integrative reflection. And I invite you to close your eyes. And I really want to thank a Sangha member who let us know that certain topics are triggering, and they are for a lot of people. And one of the balancing acts here, like this fulcrum point, is how much are we efforting to curate a life where we don't have any triggers? That's a lot of effort. And then on the other side of things, do we just live a life pretending that we're not triggered and we just are mindlessly going along? Whereas if we can stay in the middle way, we can kind of invite the trigger, work with it, know that we are in a community of people who are skilled. I remember when I first started offering Buddhist inspired recovery meetings. And I had no experience with AA. I knew very little about traditional programs. I knew of them, but I didn't really know any of the practice. And I remember one of the first times a Sangha member commented on another person's share. And this was all in person, by the way. And somebody else in the group cut them off and was like, "There's no crosstalk," in a very aggressive way. And I was like, what just happened? What is crosstalk? I didn't even know. And why is it so bad? And what's the harm? And so I just got really curious about that particular dynamic. And of course, the interruption just threw everybody off. It got really uncomfortable in the room energetically. And so it was really at that point where I really wanted to focus a lot of my effort on group dynamics, human dynamics, creating a container, a space that can really hold it all with a great sense of security and anchoring. People can be upset, people can ramble, people can say difficult things, people can be triggered, and we're all going to be okay because that is life. And this is a training ground. And this training ground has a level of maturity and expertise and wisdom where we are going to remain well regarded, respected, dignified in our practice. At the end of the day, we come into this space because we know and we can rest assured that we are loved. It's my privilege. And it's one of the ways that I keep two of the most loving people I've ever known in my life, my parents, alive in me. Friends, let's dedicate this practice to living beings everywhere, that they may feel the warm embrace of this community's love. May we carry forward the love of our ancestors, all their struggles, all the ways they coped dysfunctionally and impeccably, all of it, they too trying to love. Let's bring forward the mystery of love. Yesterday, I heard a story on NPR, I think it was, that biologists don't know how trees in autumn turn red. They don't understand the science of that pigmentation shift, which I thought was fascinating. Most colors are yellow because that's the natural process of a leaf losing its chlorophyll to the changing season. But they don't fully understand why a leaf would turn red or orange. Or sometimes the leaves are yellow, green, red, and orange. They don't understand the freckling, as they called it, of those particular pigments. And there are all kinds of theories about it. It's a mystery. Love is a mystery, and we are surrounded by it. We go into it, we breathe it, we are it. And the invitation is to continue to grow and flower as it. Breathing in deeply this beautiful mantra by a great Hindu sage. His name is Muji, and he likes to say, love loves to love. Thank you for your beautiful practice, friends. We'll see you next time. Namaste.